May I now take the honor of inviting our chief guest, Honorable Vice President of India, Shri Jagdeep Dhankhar ji, to kindly deliver his inaugural address.
Namaskar. Greetings to everyone present here. Honorable Governor of Assam, Professor Jagadish Mukhi ji, Honorable Chief Minister of Assam, Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma, National Convenor, Pravah, Shri Nandakumar ji, Working President Lokmanthan 2022, Dr. Gargi, Saikia, Mahanta ji, distinguished audience, congratulations to the artists who made available to us cultural fiesta indicative of richness of this region. Grateful to the Honorable Chief Minister for very kind words. These are contestable. He has invited me. I am known to accept invitations from friends. I await a formal invitation. I will be with you all. Indeed, privileged to be associated with this inaugural session of the third edition of Lokmanthan in Guwahati today. It is indeed a very appropriate place for such an occasion and function. It is satisfying to learn that Lokmanthan 2022, with the theme of Lok Parampara, is celebrating the culture and ethos of northeastern India and facilitating a dialogue between artists, intellectuals, and academicians drawn from various parts of the country to recognize many historical traditions of Bharat. Compliment Pravah for organizing this national level colloquium over the years to bring out the hidden treasures of our traditional knowledge. Warm regards to the local organizations, Intellectual Forum of Northeast and Assam Tourism Development Corporation for their earnest, productive efforts. India has a great, unrivaled heritage of debate, discussion, knowledge sharing, public discourse, and intellectual brainstorming. In ancient times, there was a healthy space where debates were conducted to examine various religions, philosophical and moral issues. Indian epics like Bhagavad Gita and in-depth contemplation on morality and philosophy in the form of dialogue. Dialogue, debate, and discussion are soul of governance. Contemporaneous scenario on this count, particularly legislatures, is worrisome. Entire ecosystem upliftment can be effected by drawing lessons from our rich past. The great Brad Vanikaga Upanishad itself was firmed up on discussion, such as Yajnavardi Gargi dialogue historical dialogue in which the sage Gargi, in a philosophical debate, challenging sage Yagavasle with intriguing questions on the issue of Atma. Lokmanthan seeks to revive, and if I go by the two earlier editions, seeks to revive very successfully on incremental trajectory our age-old Bharatiya tradition of Samvad. Our concept of Samvad is not mere transmission of information, but positive and constructive communication that wholesomely serves societal causes. The thriving space for discussion and dialogue that once existed in the public realm is no longer there. It needs to be regained and protected from many dangers it faces in a race for one-upmanship, and that is being witnessed very frequently in all facets of life and under constant glare of the public eye. Debates televised or on social media are turning into cacophonous fighting arenas. In that field of fight, the debates offer a daunting challenge to anyone in the field of wrestling. That is something we have to look up to see that we don't derail ourselves. Intolerance of the other point of view, and this is very frequent in present times. Intolerance of the other point of view is antithetical to wholesome environment for free exchange of ideas and thoughts. This trend needs containment so that societal harmony is unreached. Experience has shown that more often than not, the other point of view turns out to be correct point of view. Media should take initiative. Here, they should introspect, pass on the mic, and let unique, original, and marginalized voices come to the mainstream. What an alarming scenario, a worrisome spectacle that sanity and rationality hardly get any space in the media. Media takes a ripple, converts into a tsunami by high decibel. Media needs to rethink and keep in mind our age-old ethos, democratic values, and civilizational gift. Time to step out of our echo chambers, caused both by social structure and social media algorithms, and let our minds breathe. It is time for us, in national and societal interest, to revive our age-old art of listening. We must rediscover also the art of dialogue. These two facets, the absence of these is being felt in contemporaneous times, and the return to the mainstream and on the radar will change the system for the better. The role of intellectuals in our country is very critical. Historically, our sages, the highly enlightened souls of the time, advised the kings and royalty on various aspects of public polity and policy. These same voices were heard by all sections of people and ensuring harmony and stability in society, and gave legitimacy to the laws of the land. This aspect generated what we can say richness of our civilization. In this background, if our intelligentsia decides to opt for silence in the current times on varied issues, then this very important section of society is bound to be silenced forever by their own acts of inaction. They must freely practice dialogue and deliberation so that societal morality and propriety are preserved. Silence of the intelligentsia is indeed baffling. The kind of challenges the country and society is facing at this moment, they are not reflecting on that. It is time for intelligentsia to give directional approach to various issues by coming out, and if I may say so, playing on the front foot with a straight bat. Democratic values and human rights, and they are critical to any governance, any society, any system. They can blossom with intelligentsia adopting proactive stance of dialogue and discussion. I have noticed in various capacities I have been able to contribute for the nation that the silence resonated in my ears more than anything else. I could never figure out how can intelligentsia observe silence in a scenario of decimation of human rights and eclipse of democratic values. The primacy attributed to the freedom of expression in our Constitution, and this primacy did not obtain in most constitutions at the earliest occasion, is a testimony to the importance of free, spirited, and healthy discussion that we have long cherished. Freedom of expression is nectar of democracy. Under no circumstances we can compromise on this. This is non-negotiable, and if we depart from this concept, the consequences certainly will deprive us of sublimity and wholesomeness. The Constituent Assembly debates are replete with many enriching and intriguing dialects, and that illuminate India's founding fathers' emphasis on deliberative mechanism. This mechanism by itself paves way to resolution of many issues facing us today. Reflecting in the context of constituent assemblies, we must be aware they faced most intractable, difficult situations, and they were debated in a composed manner with respect to each other's point of view, and sometimes their points of view were not reconcilable. In the times we live, the theaters of legislature need to rethink. Their core work, their core values are being self-destroyed. If issues that are required to be deliberated, discussed on the floor of legislature come to be debated on the streets, that will offer a challenge which can be met only by restoration of decorum, discipline in the legislatures. The framers of the Constitution have envisioned a wholesome balance between three institutions: legislature, executive, and judiciary. None of these institutions can claim either dominance or primacy over the other. All these three institutions have to act in tandem and togetherness, in constructive harmony, realizing supremacy of the Constitution. In this situation also, the intelligentsia has a great role to play. And if intelligentsia undertakes, then synergical stance of these institutions will really help the country to a great extent. Be it from legal community, public representatives, the executive, or thinkers from civic society, each one has to ensure harmonious working of the three branches of the state through deliberative mechanism. Any transgression by one institution, howsoever subtle, howsoever non-invasive, has the potential to upset the apple cart of democratic governance. While the primary responsibility lies with those at the helm of affairs of these institutions, I can say a greater responsibility lies with the members of the civil society and thinkers, intellectuals. Another concerning trend that has to be curtailed is the problem of pseudo-intellectualism. One is baffled that in our country, iconic status is accorded on parameters that have no rationale, on parameters that are generated by event management. There is no scrutiny of this aspect. Can public space be allowed to be dominated by media-created or event-created giants, eclipsing the authentic repository of this particular category? I am sure people, thinkers, would catalyze a situation where this category that offers a challenge to the country, which is on the rise from any corner of the globe, every time something good is happening in the country. I wonder what is their premise of not sharing and enjoying the growth story of this country. The world is amazed that 90 crore people were fed by this country during COVID for nearly 2 years. The world is stunned that 250 million people could be part of banking inclusivity and get benefit. I know out of experience, as a young lawyer, the bank that gave me 6,000 rupees for my library made my life. Now, governmental systemic arrangement is you need to have an idea. Money is not a consideration, be it 250 million or 2,500 million. And I'm saying so because many have availed of this opportunity and given us some of the startling startups, genius of Indian mind. But this phenomena of being authentic, transparent, and accountable can be seen in one facet only, for instance, though it is available in several facets of governance. Recently, conferment of Padma Awards to deserving people through transparent process is a soothing aspect that has been widely acclaimed. I can share it with you. As Governor of West Bengal, I noticed that the people who got Padma Awards were not known. But the moment Padma Award was given to them, the society rose. Right person has been given Padma Award. And that is a scenario all over the country. Patronage is no longer a passage for getting Padma Awards. As a matter of fact, patronage should not be a passage to get anything in a democratic society if we have to realize the preamble of our Indian Constitution, and right of equality and fundamental rights. As a people, we are bound by a common cultural thread that underpins and recognizes and resonates across all regions of the country, relevant at all times. This commonality of our entire nation is manifested in the life of our ordinary people. On this point, I would like to indicate a reflection made by Father of the Indian Constitution, Dr. Ambedkar. I quote, "It is the unity of culture that is the basis of homogeneity. Taking this for granted, I venture to say that there is no country, I repeat, there is no country that can rival the Indian peninsula with respect to the unity of its culture," unquote. As chairman of Eastern Zone Cultural Center that covers the entire field of Northeast, while being governor of West Bengal, I noticed it, felt it, experienced it, and was enamored of it. I came to be energized thereby, inspired and motivated. The beauty and strength of this indubitable cultural unity reflects in every facet of our national life, right from the mundane secular matters to the lofty spiritual aspects, from the songs sung by farmers during sowing season to our historic approach towards environment. I pause here for a moment. Go to any part of the country when there is harvest season. Look at the songs they have. Any part of the country. Look at the festivals they have. The name is different, the songs are different, the region is different, the language is different. But essence and spirit thereof is common. And this is the pristine essence of Bharatiyata. India's civilizational ethos speak of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We consider the entire world a family. Let us look at our history. Look into historical perspective. This is not just an assertion. This has been exemplified by thousands of years of working of Indian civilization. किसी भी कालखंड को देख लो, this was amply proved, and even at the cost of painful suffering. We consider the world as a family, have demonstrated it all through without exception. This time-tested virtue has been our guiding light in maintaining internal and external peace. We must transmit these pearls of wisdom to our future generations through value-based education. It is gratifying to note that after making a great effort, listening to the voice of hundreds of stakeholders, we have had a new education policy. Every facet of that policy focuses on our ethos, our culture, our need, our requirement, and our inherent development. This policy permits, allows, offers affirmative situation, ecosystem for fullest exploitation of one's talent and potential. It is unfortunate that some states have chosen not to adopt it. Education is non-partisan. Education cannot be politicized. Education is alone responsible for catapulting a nation to the highest order. Industry can create infrastructure, can produce, but the product they engage in is a product of education. Exhilarating to note that this edition of Lokmanthan is being organized in Guwahati, the Honorable Chief Minister has at great length indicated the richness of this area. And I can assure you, he is known to be factually very accurate. The Sanskriti of Bharat is something which is non-negotiable. We have no option to keep our nation first, to promote our Sanskriti, to believe in our Sanskriti, and those who think otherwise have a lot to answer. The diversity of cultural practices in the region are unmatched. I have never seen any part of the world where with such diversity there is harmony. And that harmony is principally premised on our cultural ethos. I have been to some countries of Europe, and for a longer time for assignment, the ethnic issues that dominate the scene of those countries have to learn much from this country, which has a digestible, inherently digestible mechanism to amalgate every other thought, and then the richness is revealed. The diversity of cultural practices in this region, as the Honorable Chief Minister indicated, is one of the best. He has indicated it is unmatched. It is so. They resonate with quintessential Indian values of peace, harmony, and universal brotherhood. I wouldn't digress, but indicate briefly that in the recent world turmoil situation, sane voices emanated from Indian leadership, and that has evoked positive reaction and great respect. On a worldwide spectrum, there is recognition of that same voice. As we march confidently into this century further, it is all the more peremptory for us to believe in our demographic dividend, our brilliant youth force. And the youth force for the present, fortunately, is unencumbered by colonial hangover. The demonstration of it is that thanks to Indian genius, even in global economic entities of the world, the leadership is in the hands of Indians. We must empower our youth further beyond governmental efforts. The government has engaged in great innovative steps. They are yielding fruits. But geometrical dimension of these efforts will take place when people in industry, business, trade, intelligentsia, academia also lend their helping hand. I have seen for myself the hand-holding approach was seen in sublimity during the trying times of COVID. As we are exposed to diverse traditions of India, hope that we approach them with open mind and with a sense of rational inquiry. As a society, it is necessary that we develop a sense of our own history, which includes our traditions, local art forms, innumerous dialects. Only then can we be truly independent in mind and spirit. The approach to reject an idea on partisan grounds at a drop of hat is a tendency that can be curbed by the common man, the intelligentsia, the academia. We must be open to all ideas And it is only after deep deliberation, dialogue, and discussion that the judgmental mode must be reflected. Glad to see that many sessions over the next few days will highlight parampara in various facets of our life, be it agriculture, education, environment, culture, and other aspects. I am confident these sessions will remind us of our duty in preserving our traditions and consolidating them. Before concluding, I would like to give a quote from a Supreme Court judgment. It is said quite often, your past never leaves you. Your shadow always accompanies you. So my being a legal professional, even though technically that part is suspended, I continue to be eklavya of that. I would therefore conclude, and for the reason that the wise thoughts have emanated from someone who has lived in this area for long. The judgment of the Supreme Court says, I am quoting, then I'll give the name of the author of the judgment. A professor of Cambridge, I'm quoting, a professor of Cambridge University is deeply engrossed in his studies, in his calm chamber. Professors are used to doing that. They are more productive when they are in their chamber. An agitated English soldier enters the study room and accuses the professor in not sharing the trauma of war which he and many others like him are facing while fighting Germans. A normal reaction emanating from robust common sense. The professor calmly asks the young soldier for whom he is fighting for. Professors are known to ask difficult questions. This was a very simple question posed by the professor to the soldier. Quick comes the reply, and the soldier says, to defend the country. A very logical answer will impress anyone, but professors are known to unsettle things when they appear to be settled otherwise. The wise man wants to know what is that country to defend which is prepared to shed his blood. The soldier's mind is activated and agitated. The soldier replies, it's a territory and its people. The professor was unstoppable. He goes to the next level. On further questioning, the soldier says, it is not only this, but the culture of the country, which he wants to defend. So the soldier came to the real response. He is prepared to lay his own life to defend the culture of the country. Now comes a final. The professor quietly states that he is contributing to that culture in his cozy room. The soldier calms down. Soldiers are known to be very disciplined after being convinced. They obey the command of their officers, but for others, they only act when they are convinced. The soldier was convinced. So he calms down, bows in respect to the professor, and was to defend with more vigor the cultural heritage of his country, unquote. This judgment of the Supreme Court was in the context of relevance of Sanskrit language. And it was a two-judge bench, but it was authored by one who lived here. It was authored by one who enriched himself and gained from the cultural richness of this land, of which presently Himanta Biswa Sharma is the Chief Minister. and that is Honorable Mr. Justice B.L. Hansaria. Thank you so much to the organizers for affording me this opportunity for two reasons. One needs to be exposed to the enlightened reflections of such an organization. And secondly, for generating a lifelong connect with Lokmanthan. Thank you so much.